Osira was taken out 2-1 in a very fast-paced series. Reality is the one who advances to the Premier League next season. But up next, we have SOS versus Curious, or Protoss versus Zerg.
Our first Protoss of the Zerg of the day, and Curious versus SOS should definitely be a really good game. SOS, one of the best Protoss players that we have in Korea, and Curious, on the other hand, he is a very strong Zerg to face, so let's see what he can do.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. I'm excited for it because Curious is somebody who's shown insanely good late game versus Protoss, especially when it comes to airplay and making the spine crawler walls, being very careful with his infestors. But will SOS even get us there? The past few Protoss versus Zergs we've had here in the Challenger League that were broadcasted, we've seen very aggressive Protoss play, not so much going to the late game, and definitely not any air toss.
Yeah, to the right, of course, we have Curious, and to the left, this is SOS, another Wounding Stars player that we have today. And, well, Flying already lost earlier against Parting, so we have the second Wounding Star player here trying to go to the Premier League today. The loser, of course, is falling to the up and downs. That will be held quite soon, and then we will find out who else can qualify for the Premier League. But let's just see what's going to happen here. Curious and his opponent in this series should be really intense. But the problem for the Zerg player is that, especially in Heart of the Swarm, he is not as strong in this matchup anymore as he was in Wings of Liberty.
Yeah. This is definitely a good point. Both of these players did fall down from the Premier League to get here, so neither of them are coming up. They did not have a Challenger League run this season. They both fell from that OSL, so only one of them is going directly back into the Premier League, and the other one will have to face that terrible place you don't want to be in, the up and downs.
Belcher Vestige is map number 1, Protoss versus Curious going up against SOS in our last best of 3 of the day here at the WCS Challenger League. Let's start the game without further ado. Map number 1 in this best of 3 with Cullen Wolf. Bottom right of the map, we have the Protoss player for the Wounding Stars. This is
웅진 스타즈 SOS.
SOS with a pretty cool keyboard setup there as well. And his opponent starting, of course, to the top left of Belcher Vestige, the Zerg player in blue for Team Startail.
Startail Curious.
Curious was known in Wings of Liberty for his patience in this matchup and for a very annoying, kind of turtley style that he used against Protoss, which was very tough to deal with for most Protoss players. In Heart of the Swarm, the transition for him in this matchup in particular didn't go as smoothly as he really wanted it to be. He has only a 42% win ratio against Protoss. Played 12 games, so not the most matches played so far in this matchup, but he lost against all kinds of Protoss players. Genius, Trap, Paralyze, Super, and San. So definitely a matchup where he's a little bit shaky. He could prepare a lot for this particular game that we see now, and he really needs to do something. So if he hasn't practiced well, then SOS is going to take him apart, because SOS, he is great in this matchup. He has played 38 maps already in Protoss versus Zerg, and he won 26 of them. This leaves him with a 68% win ratio, which is
that's insane. I mean, with that many matches played. So the probe here just kind of ominous. Doesn't have a forge he can cannon with.
And that actually changes as the forge comes in. Oh god, seriously, if Curious loses this game to a cannon rush, I'm going to walk over and drag him out of the booth. That's like the one thing that SOS does every single time on this map. Oh, thank god he's scouting.
He scouts.
So I swear to you, I would have done it. I cannot stand another game where SOS just cannon rushes a Zerg player of Belcher Vestige. That happened like how many times in a row now? Like it feels like it happens every single game when SOS plays against a Zerg here.
Could still cannon the third base later.
Don't you jinx it. I want a long game. I want a clean fight. No dirty tricks.
No dirty tricks. Well, there's the gateway going up. It's going to be a while before we see the tech. One thing I want to mention is that a lot of pro gamers these days are using Twitter, and you and I actually saw Parting tweet earlier on after he ended up winning his match, and he was like, "Oh, I'm so relieved." And even though these players oftentimes tweet in Korean, you can use Google Translate or ask one of your Korean friends to tell you, and they would love to get followers and get the support of the foreign fans. The only player in this particular match who has a Twitter is Curious, and like most StarTale Twitters, he is ST_Curious. SOS doesn't have a Twitter, but I'm sure if you tweet at the Woongjin Twitter, which I believe exists, then maybe you can convince them to get him to make one. You follow the two of us on Twitter. We always tweet about upcoming matches, what we feel about some of the other matches, other tournaments going around worldwide. I am at ProxyWolf, and you are at, of course, Calder with a KH. So just tweet.
Yeah, definitely do that, and also let us know what you think about today's game so far. The most entertaining series, I feel, was the match that we just had before this between Kangho and Reality, but also when Keen played his games, that was the strategies that True used there. I'd really like to know what you guys think about that. In this game now in particular, I'm really happy that Curious actually adapted to what SOS normally does here and scouted his natural several times, because that probe was already in a position and SOS actually dropped that forge, so we would have seen cannons if not for the scout of Curious. He now starts to transition into a little bit more of a normal game with the third base that we have here, and the Unding Stars player is already on his way to go into the Stargate tech.
Yeah. Stargate coming up here, very, very normal play from SOS. Looks like the probe will barely escape home, so nice information the probe gets, even keeping him alive. Now, Curious, with the Overlord position he has, he may see the Stargate, not going to be likely, but it's probably just going to be one of those things where SOS shows the Phoenixes and he makes Spore Crawlers at home. Curious is never one to play greedy, never one to cut corners.
Curious is playing very normal now. The gas at the normal timings, the lair tech will come up next, and with the scout that he has, he knows that there is no upgrade at the forge. That's the only reason why he sent those Zerglings in, trying to find out if the forge is currently spinning. So he should be able to fend off those Phoenixes fairly well. And for him, of course, the next step is just to go into his own lair tech and then to find out what happens at the bottom right. And we see SOS taking a fairly early third Nexus here.
Yeah, with a Void Ray, this is something he can definitely hold. Did he cancel the Phoenix, or did he just make one and show it? Okay, yeah, so he made one and showed it, and then he went to the Void Rays. This is a pretty cool strategy, and Curious has nothing nearby to scout this.
Curious now with the tech into lair at 7:30, also getting his Roach run up because he's not quite sure what's going on here. He did not scout that third base just yet.
He's trying to, and his Zergling actually will skip. This is a huge mistake by SOS. He saw it, he could have lifted it. Would have been suspicious, I suppose, to lift it, but still.
Now I'm really interested to see how Curious is going to react to this. We have him in a position where he knows about an early third base. He could try to take a fourth, but it is very much exposed, and the Protoss player can take that down. But in terms of tech, you are fairly well aware that there is no early aggression coming your way. So that's why we see the double gas immediately taken here, even before the lair tech is done. +1 attack upgrade started. And the choice to what he's going to do next, that's the most important part. What is he going to do on lair? Just simple Hydra Den, or will we see a Spire? Could even see him going into an infestation pit.
Yeah, could see Swarm Hosts on this map. A third Voider being started. The worst choice for him would just be to try to do a big Roach push, because that's not going to work against this much Voider production for SOS.
I actually don't think that we're going to see a Swarm Host, because this is a map... I mean, this is a little bit tricky to make Swarm Hosts work. It can, but you need to get into aggressive position, because once that your opponent crosses the middle of the map, it's very difficult to keep up with the Swarm Hosts. Most players like to have something more mobile. That is also why we see the Hydra Den. But West is definitely not the best Swarm Host map out there.
Yeah. With the positioning here of the Void Rays for SOS on the right side of the map, this hatchery for Curious is definitely going to have to be cancelled. He has nothing nearby. He has on the map right now 6 Zerglings and 4 Queens, and that's not going to help. Not in this case.
And that's the Spire as well. So he goes into the Spire right now. SOS with a lot of aggression here. Currently even in a supply lead, at least for a few short seconds before the Zerg gets his production up again.
He's attacking, he's making a forward pylon here, he's getting extra gateways right now. Curious needs to get these units out defensively.
Yeah, and even with those units, it's not going to be too easy to hold this. There comes another Void Ray into the picture, and we have charge and +2. Don't think he's going to be committing too much, but still, he has a force on the map that can do damage, and I think he's going to just walk over to the left side, check for the fourth, and find it and take it out.
Yeah, he's just basically poking around while his third base gets up, gets that saturation, and as soon as Curious has enough units to push him back, he'll recall. He keeps the Mothership Core. He doesn't check the fourth base, as you just noted, but still, he's delayed it for so long, and he just had this annoying map presence, and his third base is completely unpressured. Look at how much of a supply lead he takes here, but Curious is about to explode with Mutalisk.
Yeah, Curious is going into the Spire now. It's about to be completed. He has 1,100 gas. He can get 11 Mutalisks out right away. Here come those additional gateways. Of course, we have the Templar Archive also being started. Charge is about to be completed. It's a really good tech that SOS has here.
He's going to hit a Charge Zealot Archon timing on 3 bases with, well, actually, he goes into Storm.
Yeah.
Has he scouted the Mutalisks?
Well, we don't have any Mutalisks just
Or
yet.
rather the Spire, I meant to say.
We actually have him not committing to it. We have, at this point, only the Infestation Pit being started. He might actually just consider to have the Spire there in case there is a transition into Colossi.
Yeah.
Might have been surprised to see that that's not the case, and let's see how he's going to react to this.
SOS saw the Spire, so that makes the Storm tech make a lot more sense. He's also getting +1, but he doesn't add any Stargates yet for his air. So, this is interesting. SOS doing kind of a coverall right now, whereas Curious is very gradually transitioning his tech.
I'm a little bit worried for Curious here. Hydralisks against Storms, good luck with that. Charge Lots at the front to make sure that nothing gets too close. Then a couple of Archons and also the Void Rays. I do not think that those Infestors will be out in time. If SOS hits that timing, +2 attack, charge, the +1 attack upgrade even for the Void Ray is going to complete during the fight. Storm there with a few of High Templars against Hydralisks, Zergling, and well, not too many Lings, but the Roaches. I actually think that SOS is going to melt that army away.
He also, for the first 2 Infestors, depending on how the Templar are used, can just feed back those Infestors. It all depends on the micro and how the battle goes, but 20 Hydras, 18 Roaches. The Void Rays are going to make quick work of those Roaches. He has Charge and 26 Zealots.
He's not engaging just yet, so if those Infestors get out, maybe, but they're only halfway done, and here comes the Protoss player. He's charging in, that 4th is exposed, and the Archon is at the front. No Storm so far.
Kind of a whiff on those Zealots, all having them a charge on the Extractor. He needs to make sure that they get their second charge much better. Here they go.
Yeah, Storms hitting in, and well, so far nice dance here by SOS, but that 4th base, I just don't see that. Another Storm on the high ground, and look at those Hydralisks!
Storms, the Hydras are melting.
My god!
They're trying to get a good concave here, and so far it's decent. Here comes the first Fungals. He gets the very important Void Rays, but the Zealots are still free to move.
And that might be the one thing that saves Curious maybe the game, because this base is going to go on a down in either way. But that's those Fungals, they are pretty good. He takes down one of those Infestors. Maybe SOS waited a little bit too long, but here come the feedbacks.
Feedbacks here, Time Warps are good. He needs a few more Storms. There's one. It's decent, but it's not the best. And all these Zealots are trapped. The base on the left side of the map is not mining, and it's been spotted.
I cannot believe that he saved that base.
It's insane, Keller. It's just all about those Infestors, and it's SOS waited so long.
He waited too long. He didn't realize that there were Infestors on the way, and I cannot believe that Curious was able to give himself the time to make this transition happening. He apparently thought that there would be a transition into Colossi, and we saw him with the early Spire, and then he realized, well, I'm actually up against the Templar Archive, got the Infestation Pit immediately, and he holds this space. Even with a focus, SOS would have been able to take that down.
Now he's starting to build a little bit of a bank. Curious, that is. It's a little bit shocking that he hasn't dealt with this Zealot just yet. Looks like he's sending units over there right now, but that Zealot is getting that hatchery down very, very low. And he could also just target this hatchery, like you said. He could even send a Void Ray or 2 around the right side, use the charge-up ability. These Infestors, not all of them with energy. Needs to be very careful with how he engages. There are so many Archons for SOS. He has 5 Archons, 4 Templars still on the map. Looks like he wants to go for the hatchery, and the hatchery on the left side goes down.
Yep, the hatchery to the left side is down already, but Curious is still saving the one to the right. We have a few Lings at the bottom left, Roaches actually, and Zerglings, trying to take down that cannon. The Roach is not targeting, and now dealing with the Zealots.
Zealots have +3. The Roach upgrades right now only at +1/1, and this is way too much for this army for Curious to handle. He doesn't have the upgrades.
He cannot win this straight up, but he has the reinforcements. He can't just reinforce once the fight is over, but he's being pushed back once again, not before he hits one of the Fungals though, and with another few he could take down this army. Those Storms are great though!
The upgrades, the Storms, everything looking really bad for Curious here. He's going to lose this hatchery. He's losing all of his units. He's trying to remax in Roaches, but SOS has a 4th base to fall back on. He has so much army. GG!
So the army melting away happened after all, just a little bit later, as SOS realized that it was a bad idea to attack through the choke point with all those Infestors on the high ground. Changes his angle a little bit, waits for the next set of upgrades, moves in from the left, flanks the army, and then with Storm, Archon, and Charge Lot, he takes down everything that Curious has on the map in an instant.
He just makes it look easy. I feel like one of the big turning points in this game was when he forced a cancel on the first 4th base that was made. Then SOS remade the base instantly. I mean, Curious remade the base instantly around the 9 o'clock expansion, but then he never mined from it at all the entire game. So there was just a huge economy. As a Protoss player, if you're even on economy with a Zerg that early, you feel great. You could build a very strong army, and that was something that Curious never pressured. He decided to take a 4th instead and couldn't get it.
I don't know, SOS just looks dominant.
Yeah, I mean, that was like clear-cut dominance right there in that first game.
Early 3rd base, good decisions, faking his opponent out just a tiny little bit, posturing around on the map, forcing a lot of units out there. Curious not having the tech that he needed, and then just running into... I don't know, it was like a guy with a knife showing up to a gunfight.
Yeah, it was +3 attack versus +1/1. And there was never a moment in that game where it looked like SOS was in trouble or pressured. Not for a second.
There was a lot of bang for Curious, but just the tech was missing, and he lost a lot of time. I was surprised that he held that base in the first place again with the Infestors, but then with the second wave, SOS just took him down. Game number 2 is starting now. It's on Anaconda. Curious versus SOS. The second set, maybe even the last map of the day, is a WCS